Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It is Thursday, the 11th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barry. How's it going, Joshua?
Yeah, good. Good game last night, wasn't it? And Rangers, a little bit of good Rangers news after a few days of not so much Derek. So looking forward to getting into it. I presume you watched it last night?
The Standard Liège Rangers game.
Yeah, well, me and Chris have absolutely milked that joke for about 25.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched it, but we were saying there's never been a more. If people don't know what we're talking about, I presume they will. But the game was behind closed doors, but a few of the members of the media who were out there could watch it. So it felt like Chris was part of a very exclusive pack trying to break the game down minute by minute. Huge pressure on that, but obviously the difficulty for Chris was that it was a 0-0 game in which not much happened. So we were all hanging on his every word about, how did this new signing play and what was different and why wasn't this player in the squad? And obviously it was just a pretty dull encounter that we probably wouldn't have taken much from if it was televised. But we didn't get to see it, so we'll have to wait until Saturday.
Yep. I did watch the game last night as well. I think England deserved it over the piece, although the penalty shot, I don't know if you agree, Joshua, it's an abomination for me. It's no way is that a penalty. I don't, for the life of me, understand why he's been not only penalised and getting a yellow card for it as well when Keand's obviously get the shot away and then kicked through his boot. I know people saying, he's got his studs up, but I mean, if he scored Keand, he's not rolling about theatrically wanting to get a penalty. So
is the argument against it though not if it happens elsewhere in the pitch it's a foul or
I don't. I know people have been arguing that case, but for me, I think Holland, the Netherlands, should feel rightfully aggrieved about that. But I think England deserve to make it to the final. I think they're up against I think the best team. There's no doubt about it in the tournament. But the way they've managed to sort of roll the sleeves up and get through rounds, you wouldn't count against them getting a result on Sunday. Looking forward to it. Should be a good one. Let's hope we get a good spectacle as well. And loads of folks saying that Keane was cheating, but there's not many saying that it was a penalty. But there you go. We move on. Football tune in because they want to talk about all things Rangers. Before we do that, folks, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, MPH Boilers, the award-winning family-run business serving all of mainland Scotland. They are the best in boiler installations and services. And they've got those wonderful Viessmann boilers on offer at this moment in time. The all-important link is in the description below. Right, where shall we start? We'll start on the big news yesterday. Yesterday evening, Joshua, with regards to the off-pitch, will be on-pitch situation with Rangers and Ibrox being out of action. Chris reporting that Rangers closing in on a deal to relocate to Hampden for the start of the domestic and European campaigns. They have been in lengthy discussions with the SFA in recent weeks about using the National Stadium because Ibrox, of course, is out of bounds with the severe delays with the Copeland Road works taking place. So we are expecting an official announcement at some point this week. We did report on that, I think, on Monday, that this week we should hear from the chairman and the club about what is happening. Hampden for you, Joshua. I've got to say, if I had to choose between Murrayfield and Hampden, it is Murrayfield all day long. But I can understand the reasoning behind using Hampden is in a closer proximity, of course, to Ibrox. What's your feeling about this?
I think that neither are ideal situations, are they? Because of the situation overall, and that frustration will still linger. That Rangers aren't playing these games at Ibrox. They've got such important games at the start of the season. They've got a really difficult game actually, which kind of goes under the radar because of all this is happening outside of it, which is the fact that they've got to go to Hearts on the first day of the season. Hearts obviously didn't beat Rangers last season, drew with them on the final day of the season, but I'm sure they'll be pretty motivated to try and win that game. Between Hampden and Murrayfield, it's a bit of a toss-up for me. I don't think I've been to Murrayfield before to watch the football, but neither Neither are better than Ibrox, I think, as a footballing spectacle. The most important thing, and as you say in that news that broke last night, we expect there to be official confirmation soon. It can't come soon enough because we're already, a month away or so, less than a month away from the season starting, Derek, around about a month away from the first game happening there. And you've also got to remember the importance of the game. It's a point we keep stressing, and we are maybe repeating ourselves somewhat, but it's so important, isn't it? Because August can dictate the season for Rangers, dictate how it starts, of course, but also you've got those Champions League games. And one of the biggest advantages that Rangers have had in European competition for a number of years now is the ability to foster this environment at home that their opponents can't really replicate away from home. Now, if you listen to what Rangers players have been saying, Ross McCausland, Keand, the party line will be, our fans can make away games like home. And that is all very well and true, but it's still going to, I guess, take some getting used to, and it's going to be a bit of a strange experience. We know that other clubs have done this in the past when the works have been planned. The example that comes to mind is Tottenham at Wembley, but obviously this wasn't a planned exercise, so you're kind of on the back foot right until it starts. So the official confirmation cannot come soon enough, because this is going to have to be something where Rangers try to create some sort of positive atmosphere out of this at the National Stadium. But obviously, it's not an ideal situation in the first place, and the focus has to be, as we keep coming back to, on the football, how Clement's going to improve the squad, the number of new signings that are still needed, what is realistic in terms of turnover between now and the end of the window. And I think that will all be able to take place a little bit more now, or the focus will be a little bit more on that now that Rangers know publicly, and fans hopefully will have that confirmation soon of where they're going to see Rangers play as soon as next month.
Yeah, and we want to find out for how long as well. We need to get an idea of how long Ibrox is going to be out of action. Seen a suggestion, and someone mentioned, I don't know if it was a Q&A I was on or a video one or two few days ago, someone said the Broomloan Road stand is earmarked for development and construction work as well, I think next summer. Why don't Rangers just do it right now with Ibrox out of action? But then obviously there'll be, I don't know if they'll need to order the relevant materials and all that.
Don't order more steel. I guess that's probably the argument against that, is the whole Rangers will say the reason that they're in this situation is because of backlogs and X, Y, and Z. Realistically, Derek, people won't want to hear that, and you can understand why. And it's all the issues again that we continue to come back to, that I think is culminating in this summer mood where we're not really yet looking forward to the football, are we? Because of all these external issues that are surrounding the football. So I'm sure in an ideal world you maybe would do that. Again, we've seen clubs at different points. Thinking of Liverpool with the Anfield Road stand, they played at Anfield for a bit while they were. They did. But they were obviously only they were doing the upper tier, and I don't think the work was as much taking place, obviously, with the contractors on the pitch. I was actually at a game where that was taking place, and the atmosphere was still fine. Bigger capacity, maybe, I don't know. But the focus just needs to be on, firstly, that this can't happen again, because we'll see what happens. Rangers might be able to go and win at Hampden, and all will be well. If they don't, if they're unconvincing at home, they've got to go and try and look like the home team. And that maybe sounds like a bit of a stupid suggestion, but they do have to still try, especially in those European games, and make it feel like an away game for the support. I just wonder how much getting used to it takes for a team when you're used to playing at home, when you're used to playing on a different size pitch, different surroundings. It's all things that we don't really know because we've not played professional football, but I'd imagine it's something that's going to take some adapting to.
Yeah, I feel for the supporters. I do want John Bennett to apologise when he does speak to, I'd imagine, Rangers TV and update us on what the situation is. It's the fans that are needing an apology, and to find out, well, a lot of season ticket holders where they're going to be sat at Hampden as well, all this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. I do feel sorry for the guys that are going to be sat behind the goal, especially close down towards the pitch, because the view is atrocious. So, yeah, we all need to factor all this in and sort all this out pronto. So, yeah, looks like Rangers agreeing to play at Hampden, folks, and we should hear from the club in the next day or so, I'd imagine, about the situation and what is going on. There's a comment that took my fancy just with the on-pitch activities. Chris, of course, over in Holland. Joshua and Chris recorded an evening briefing yesterday. Jock with the point. Just for those that maybe missed that show, Joshua says, let us in on player performance last night, please. Chris is probably the best person to speak about this, but we know that Nsiala, Barron, and Jefte all played apart. Rangers had 2 different teams out, although Butland played the entire game. Interesting. I thought it was interesting that Suter had the armband, and then Connor Goldson had the armband for one of the halves as well. Not Jack Butland. There was there was a newspaper report a couple of weeks ago saying that Butland would get the captaincy if Tavernier is to leave. But I thought that was could we read too much into that? If Tav does leave or isn't available, then it will be one of Suter or Goldson.
I wouldn't think so. If Butland is still here, obviously we're speaking in many different hypotheticals here, aren't we? But I actually hadn't noticed that. That shows how eagle-eyed you are. But to Jock's point, I sadly did not get to watch the game, Jock. So yourself and Chris is speaking to some members of the Rangers team today. There'll be a few interviews actually on the site over the next few days. He's going to be live with you later on. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the player performance, do that. I felt bad after the time, as mentioned, because you and I, Derek, you know what it's like working at these games when you're also writing a report. You sometimes miss little things or you have to watch the game back. So when it is a 0-0 game, when there is probably not much between the teams and it's a runabout and you're only playing one half. So, or in some players' cases like Oscar Cortez, only played for 30 minutes as he continues to return from the injury that stopped his season last season. There's maybe not that much to work with. The Ajax game on Saturday is going to give a bit of a better, hopefully, spectacle and idea of some of the changes that we might have seen Clement make. Because this is the thing we were talking about last night, Derek. In a normal kind of football in summer, yes, these big issues would be ongoing probably, and we talk about them and they take preference, whatever, and rightly so. But you also would be building up to the football. What are the small changes that Clement is going to try and make? What's he learned from last season? Where does the team look good? Where does it look bad? And we're not really getting there yet. And that is where I have some sympathies for Clement, because he's been brought in to be a football manager, and the job at the moment, because of the situation, is a lot bigger, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Ian with the point. Yeah, it was difficult when it didn't see the match live. He says, saw the highlights and it was uninspiring in my opinion. Listen, it's all about fitness at this stage. We shouldn't read too much into the game. It'll be a good workout for a lot of the boys, just building up to the start of the season. And like you say, Joshua, I think the Ajax game will be a really good test for the team. Lots of questions, incidentally, on whether we can watch the game at the weekend. All About Rangers says, will the Rangers v Ajax game be on Rangers YouTube or Rangers TV, so we can get a look at our team formation, etc. It's been streamed on Rangers TV, isn't it, Joshua? I do believe that is the case.
Believe so.
So you will be able to watch the game, folks. And a question as well about Hamza Iggeman from Paul says, any idea when Iggeman joins up with the squad, guys? He's not out in the Netherlands with the team at this moment in time. I believe he will be available for the Man United friendly. So I think we may get an idea of whether he will feature in that game. But he's not out with the team at this moment in time. Another bit of another rumour that was doing the rounds yesterday, Joshua, just on the pre-season programme. There was a rumour that the Birmingham City game is in doubt. It is on, and the tickets have been sent out to those that applied. I think that you can still put in for a ticket if you wish to go to St Andrews, folks. That game taking place on Wednesday, the 24th of July, the Trevor Francis game. So very much looking forward to that one. But it was a rumour that was quickly quashed as the day went on. Moving on from there, there's Kieran Dill was given an interview to Chris yesterday as well, and speaking after the game. Some interesting points. We did hope to put up a little snippet from his interview, but the gremlins, the IT gremlins, are not allowing us to do so. But some interesting points that he said. He was asked, how do you reflect on your first season? So frustrating, really frustrating. Obviously, I was learning a new position as a central midfielder, which I hadn't really played before. That was due to availability and stuff, but in amongst that, there were injuries, which was so frustrating. But I'm feeling good now. I'm feeling fresh. I've had a good rest over the summer and I'm fighting fit now. And he was asked, who did you lean on for advice in those hard times when he was out? Everyone at the clubs, the lads here are a good group to keep you humble. If you're getting ahead of yourself, they'll put you down or they'll keep you going if you're down. It's a good group of lads for that. And obviously my family and friends were a great help too. Interestingly, he was asked if the Rangers fans still to see the best of you. I'd like to think so. I didn't start many games last season. I think it was 4 or 5 games. There wasn't many appearances either. They've not seen the best of me. They've not seen much of me, in fact. Hopefully they can in this coming season. What do you make of that, Joshua? First of all, learning a new position. And I think he's got a case in point that he's not featured enough last season. That part of that, a major part of that, is because he was out injured, unfortunately. Could he have a role to play this season?
He actually said in one of the other parts of his interview he needs to see what type of minutes he will get. I think this is a perfect example. Look, he's had some good moments still, hasn't he? He's a player who, as you say, there's not a natural position for him in this formation because he's not played at number 10 ahead of any of the other players. And in the past, he's kind of played as like a narrow inside forward with the right on the right or the left, pardon me, whereas Rangers play with wingers. I think Keand Dowell is, and obviously preface this with saying that he's obviously still 2 years left at the club, 2 years contracted, but he's a perfect example through no fault of his own of why Rangers are where they are recruitment wise. And I'm not speaking about him as an individual, but he said himself in the interview, the manager who signed me obviously was sacked in that October. What Rangers have now, in theory, by changing their transfer model with someone like Niels Koppen, is they should have overhead ahead of the manager because you don't know what can happen with a manager. Now, I think that regardless of the start that Philippe Clement makes, whether there is wobbles, Rangers are going to stick by him because they have to. They can't stay in this perpetual cycle of sacking managers October after October. But you take my point, Derek, that the issue that Rangers have had recruitment-wise is that the people who signed or those responsible for signing Keand Dowell are now no longer here, but obviously the player is, and what a successful recruitment policy, and this ties in so much to your incomings as well, has to take into consideration is contract management. And obviously we've seen Rangers lose 10, 11 players out of contract, some of which have had much bigger values than others at other points in their Rangers career over the past 2 seasons, but also a number of these situations where Dowell was signed to play in a position and play in a system that is no longer there. So therefore he has to learn a new role. That's why we've seen Tom Lawrence playing slightly deeper as well. This is why I think Clement and Koppen's job is really difficult, because you've got to try and shift out players to make room and get finances to bring others in. But you can't shift out 20 players in one window. It's just, you maybe can, but you're going to be probably the one club in football that manages to do so. And therefore you need Clement with players like Dowell, who hasn't played as a central midfielder before. And I think that Ross County game, which is referenced in the interview, was an example of that, when Rangers needed depth in certain areas of the pitch. Out wide as well at the end of the season, it really came into focus. So the job has to be rebalancing this window and trying to do as much work as possible, but also changing this recruitment focus going forward, which to be fair, I think is changing. You're still paying for it though, because of all these players that were signed under a very different style of recruitment last summer, but the contracts still run on. That is why the director of football recruitment, the director of football, whatever you want to brand it, that role of oversight is so important, because these players are given 2, 3, 4, 5-year contracts, but managerial cycles, as we've seen at Rangers over the last few years, can be pretty short. But on Dowell in isolation, I think he'll feel rightly so that he wants to start more than 4 or 5 games to try and show his best form. Does he have a future as being an out-and-out central midfielder in this team? I think we need to see more to be convinced. But we do think that Clement's going to stick with this 4-2-3-1 formation with an out-and-out number 10. He's been pretty rigid in that so far, and that would suggest that if and when minutes do arrive for Dowell next season, it's going to be in that central midfield slot.
Yeah, he's a decent player, but again, it's like many others at Ibrox. He comes with a caveat when fit, and unfortunately, he's not fit enough for me. Empire gets in touch. Good morning, you fabulous pair. Very kind of you to say so, buddy. When will Liam Kelly join up with the squad? Would you say that young Devine not going to Holland spells the end of him at Ibrox? Kelly teamed up with the squad yesterday.
Yeah, he was in the stands yesterday.
Yeah, and Adam Devine, we touched on this yesterday as well, not going with the first team squad over to the Netherlands. He was part of the B team that beat Blackpool the other day. I think that basically tells you everything you need to know. I would expect Adam Devine to move on this summer, and I wish him well wherever he goes, if that is the case. Listen, he might play a part, but not being part of the squad. Joshua, I think, was touching it yesterday. I think I can see him moving on. I think it would be good for him as well, pretty much like Robbie McCrory. He's at an age now where he has to be playing games.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to repeat myself with my last answer, but this is like look at someone like Leon King, and I've made this point before, the whole Leon King, Leon Balogun situation. A couple of years ago, that was his pathway to go and play as a centre-back. Rangers then go and re-sign Balogun, who, don't get me wrong, he was probably Rangers' best centre defender last season, wasn't he? But the point still stands. He had a centre-back who played all these minutes in the Champions League as a young player, and then hasn't really had a pathway as a centre-back because the managers changed, the ideas have changed, etc., etc. Look at someone like Adam Devine, who under Michael Beale, it was Beale's first game, I think, under Hibs, that he played at left-back and did really well, and away at Ross County as well. Then hasn't seen much football. Again, the style of football has changed away from the type of fullback position that was played under Beale. You could say the same thing about someone like Lowry, although there's other circumstances around that. So you could say the same thing about Ross McCausland, who wasn't in the picture before and is. The point I'm trying to make is, I think for young players to break in, and I don't mean break in and play a couple of games, but break in like McCausland, where he's not a young player anymore. There needs to be a consistency over a couple of seasons, because McCausland, I think he did well, and I think he did better than some people give him credit for last season. But had Rangers had a number of wingers, he probably wouldn't have had that opportunity. He benefited, and to his complete credit, took that opportunity because Rangers didn't really have an out-and-out right winger in the squad. So to the point from the comment, is it time up for Adam Devine at Rangers? We'll have to wait and see. Still trying to seek a little bit of clarification as to the thinking behind why he didn't come out for pre-season, because obviously, as you saw yesterday in the team lineup, Derek, you had Balogun and King playing at right back with Sterling and Tavernier in the stands. The left back position is very much going to be played by a left footer when possible, and Dujon Sterling has filled in there before. But the overall point is, for young players to make that jump to become senior players, there needs to again be consistency over a number of years, and that is something that in the background we've heard Clement talk about before. Only I think consistency kind of above that level is going to allow these young players to actually make it at Rangers over a significant period of time.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a bona fide Rangers right back going forward. So I think it's probably best that he goes out and becomes a right back for. He could play for me any other Premiership team apart from the other one across the city. I think he would do well at any other team, or even down south. I can see him going to a League One club down in England. I think he would do well there as well. But other bits of information that sort of we'll address. Well, first of all, lots of comments coming in about Lennon Miller. William says, Devine, part of the Miller deal from Miller will hopefully, listen, if Rangers can do a player exchange for Lennon Miller, then I would be all over that. Incidentally, it is a player that Rangers are aware of, and it would be, they should be interested in Lennon Miller. They have watched him. Very much like Connor Barron. These are the sort of guys, Joshua, I'd like to see Rangers bring into the club. We touched on Niels Coppin's Rangers vision yesterday, and he is looking to add that sort of Scottish, some of the best Scottish talent into the squad. So I would very much be all for Lennon Miller arriving at Rangers. I think he's a top player.
Yeah, and obviously only 17, isn't he? I believe that one of obviously we had those bullet points that came out from the fan advisory board meeting, and the other stuff you hear through conversations. I believe that one of the requirements or ambitions that Rangers now have on a recruitment point of view is to make that a much more regular, I guess, deal to every summer. Ideally, if they can, try and sign one of or the upcoming Scottish talent. So I guess Connor Barron fits into that this summer, doesn't he? It's a deal that makes sense because of where he was at contract-wise. Lennon Miller, clearly, if Lennon Miller was not on one of the many recruitment lists that I know Rangers will have, then someone would be doing their job wrong. But I think that is an area that they need it from a homegrown perspective. It also makes sense. These deals that make sense have not been done consistently enough over the last few years. So I believe that is an area that they're trying to improve, and so a box they want to tick going forward. And I would very much expect that interest in Lennon Miller and the noises around him to persist, not least because it's a deal that would just at some point make sense, Derek, given the fact that he's already an established player in the top division at such a young age,
Yep, go and get it done at Rangers. Chris's report yesterday, just on transfers. I know there's a lot of angst from the fan base when they read this, Joshua. He said that, of course, that we mentioned yesterday, Cagliari in Italy were said to be keen on Cyril Dessers. That's been downplayed, and Rangers believe not understood that Rangers do not expect to add to the squad in the coming days. Pretty depressing stuff for fans who want to see new faces in the door. But again, we touched on it earlier on, Joshua. We need to move, Rangers need to move players out the door, and that's proving a bit difficult at this moment in time.
Yeah, and obviously, hypothetically, Derek, if today you were to get the deals done to move Lammers and Dessers out the door, then I'm sure that sentence changes. Yeah. Things can change, but the word was that a new signing will not appear in the next few days. It won't be one that kind of is plucked out of thin air and arrives from nowhere. So, yeah, the days until the new season continue to tick away. Listen, it is important to also give Clement his time to work with players and see what he can get out of this group. But the point is, and I guess that the angst that you're touching upon, and everyone else is sensing that is watching Rangers, people know that more work needs to be done to this squad to ensure that next season is different. And the longer that work does not appear to visibly to have been done, I think that will continue. So we'll see what this week holds. We're going to hear from Philippe Clement at some point today and over the next few days, just to give people a reminder of that. You'll obviously be on live with Chris later today, but all your pre-season content, be that an interview with the manager or some of the players as well, you'll get it on the YouTube page, and you'll also get it on the app as well. So do make sure you're subscribed, because that's where you'll get it first in written format on the website and the app. As you can see in the ticker below, I think it's £4 for 4 months at the moment. And Clement, there's a lot of questions to ask, isn't there, Derek? Be it transfer business, be it external noise, be it the fact that fitness was and injuries was something he said he really would talk about when last season was done. And it'll also be interesting to hear what his vision is footballing wise, because as I keep coming back to, that is something that will be pushed back and back until all these other issues that continue to ruminate around are seen to have been dealt with somewhat.
Yeah, really looking forward to that interview with Philippe Clement. I'll be with you at some point today, folks. Something to look forward to. Just on the issue of transfers, Paul Murphy says, downplayed, not denied, which is a minor positive. I'm thinking now of the Dumb and Dumber scene. So you're saying there's a chance from Paul. And Gaz, not messing about. Chris ruined my day yesterday with that quote. You're not alone, Gaz. But downplayed, not denied. So, maybe, perhaps there may be a chance. We'll wrap up. Albion Rachmani, one player that has been linked to Rangers, has been speaking about the transfer interest in him. He said, speaking to, I think, a publication over in Romania, he says, I'm here, I'm focused 100%, and I will fight for this team until the end. I will fight for the fans, for them to support us unconditionally. The new players are very good. We have a strong team now. Mr. Lennon is a very good coach with a very good game philosophy, which will help us to be better and better. And he says, I hope to reach the top 5 leagues in Europe. If a team offers something interesting for the club, I will talk to Mr. Suku, who is the Rapid Bucharest owner. And if the offer is also in the interest of the club, I will make a choice. For now, I'm a Rapid player, and I will give 100% for the team. So that is what he's had to say. Didn't expect him to say I want to leave. He has been a player that has been linked with Rangers. Now, this player has been linked to several clubs across Europe. I can understand him wanting to play in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe, Joshua. Whether it materialises or not, who knows? I think, again, Cyril Dessers has to move out the door before Rangers, I would imagine, bring someone else in.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. In is it Rachmani? Am I pronouncing that right?
Rachmani.
Rachmani, there we are. He is a lot of interest from him around Europe. I believe that the fee that Rapid were looking for was north of 5 million. There was a belief within his party that maybe the right offer could get that down. But if you're looking at it from a Rangers point of view, that is quite a significant outlay, isn't it? There was some reports from I think McMahon's home country that the Rangers have met the club, or sorry, the players' representatives at one of these, the latest transfer room, which I think was in Cancun. Mexico. I'm told that they didn't meet there. I think Rangers are one of many clubs who are interested in the player, as they will be with a number of players across European and world football at the moment. But the price that Rapid would want, and the fact that there are a lot of clubs in top 5 leagues interested, obviously is a bit of a sticking point, and not least the fact that, listen, Derek, if you go and get 4 million, 4.5 million for Cyril Dessers, we've discussed this already, haven't we? His age, the goals he scored last season, X, Y, and Z. I believe that Rangers do want another striker if they can move Dessers on, but there's so many of these possibilities in the transfer window at the moment. You've obviously got Danilo coming back from a long-term injury as well, and Igmani, who's signed, but is 21 and is a player who you probably don't want to rely on too early. You want to be allow him to bed in and learn the league, learn what Scottish football is all about. So one to keep an eye on, but I think with a lot of Rangers transfer window over the course of this summer, we're going to have to see who goes out, and that will influence a lot of who can come in. The experience that Clement reiterated or referred to in a recent interview, he said that's likely to come more towards the end of the window. It's clear that Rangers still have a lot of work to do on their squad, Derek, and you just have to, I guess fans will just have to hope that that's done sooner rather than later because of the significance of these games in August. But we'll be right on top of it over the next few weeks and hopefully bringing people positive news as and when.
Yeah, we certainly will be. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Joshua as ever, and to each and every one of you for tuning in to the show. We will be back later on, as we touched on, myself and Chris over there, covering the Rangers Media Day that they're having today. So he'll be busy speaking to the manager and perhaps a player or two as well. So we'll bring you all the latest from the Netherlands later on today, and we'll speak to you later on, folks. Bye for now.